Britain in the 1980s echoed with the sound of two wheels. From garage-built legends to teenage dream machines, motorbikes and mopeds weren't just transport. They were freedom, rebellion, and the first taste of the open road. Each model carried its own story, style, and loyal following. If you remember even one of them, don't forget to subscribe, and let's kickstart a ride back through the legendary bikes of the 80s. Few bikes summed up the spirit of 1980s. Britain quite liked the Yamaha RD350LC. Nicknamed the Giant Killer, this lightweight two-stroke had a reputation for embarrassing far bigger machines on the open road. Its liquid-cooled engine, sharp handling and explosive power band made it the ultimate weapon for young riders desperate for speed, mischief, and adrenaline. But it wasn't just about performance, it was about attitude. The RD350LC felt wild, unpredictable, and demanded real skill to master, which only added to its legend. Police and parents dreaded the sight of one tearing down the high street, but to teenagers it was pure freedom on wheels. For many, the memory of racing down dual carriageways, exhausts crackling, jeans flapping in the wind, and the thrill of outrunning everything else on two wheels remains one of the most vivid images of British biking in the 80s. When the Katana rolled onto British roads in the early 80s, it looked like it had come straight from a sci-fi film. With its sharp, angular lines designed by German stylist Hans Muth, it broke every rule of what a motorbike should look like. Underneath that radical styling was a 1,100cc engine that delivered savage power, making it one of the fastest production bikes in the world at the time. Riders loved it because it was as much about making a statement as it was about speed. The Katana quickly became a poster star, adorning bedroom walls alongside Lamborghinis and rock bands, a machine that screamed individuality. It was heavy, intimidating, and demanded respect, but that only made it more appealing to those who dared ride it. For many, the memory of a Katana thundering down a dual carriageway, its futuristic silhouette catching the sunlight, symbolizes the boldness and confidence of the 1980s. A decade when bikes weren't just transport, they were rolling icons of style and rebellion. The Kawasaki GPz900R wasn't just another superbike. It changed the game entirely. Released in 1984, it was the first production bike to smash through the 150-mile-per-hour barrier, instantly rewriting what riders thought was possible. With its liquid-cooled 16-valve engine and revolutionary chassis design, it offered blistering speed paired with handling that felt stable and precise even at insane velocities. For British riders, it was nothing short of a revelation. Fast, sleek, and ahead of its time. Its legend only grew when Tom Cruise famously rode one in Top Gun, sealing its image as the ultimate symbol of cool. But beyond Hollywood glamour, the GPz900R was loved on British roads for its reliability and versatility, equally at home carving corners in the countryside as it was cruising down motorways. Many bikers still remember the first time they saw one up close, gleaming in red or black, and realized they were looking at the future. Today, it's remembered not just as a superbike, but as the superbike that defined a decade. The Honda CB900F Bol was the definition of dependable muscle in the early 1980s. Built to combine speed, strength, and comfort, it carried the spirit of endurance racing straight onto Britain's streets. With its smooth, inline-4 engine, solid frame, and powerful brakes. It could take on cross-country trips with ease, yet still deliver the rush of acceleration that riders craved. It was a bike that felt equally at home, roaring down an A road or cruising the motorways for hours. What made the Bol d'Or special was its balance. It wasn't flashy or extreme, but it inspired total confidence. Riders fondly recall loading it with panniers, heading off on weekend tours, and knowing it would never let them down. Its racing-inspired name gave everyday bikers a taste of performance heritage, while Honda's reputation for reliability sealed its status as a legend. To this day, the CB900F is remembered as a machine that proved you didn't need wild styling to be unforgettable, just strength, style, and a willingness to go the distance. For teenagers in 1980s, Britain, the Yamaha FS1E, affectionately known as the Fizzy, was the ultimate first step into motorcycling. Cheap to run, easy to fix, and just quick enough to stir excitement, it gave thousands of youngsters their first taste of freedom on two wheels. Its distinctive buzzing two-stroke exhaust note became the soundtrack of school car parks, chip shops, and village lanes, a sound that instantly signaled teenage independence. Part of its magic was how customizable it was. Young riders fitted loud exhausts, clip-on handlebars, racing decals, and anything else that might squeeze out a few extra miles per hour. Parents worried, police frowned, but to kids, the Fizzy was everything, the key to escaping buses, walking, and boredom. It wasn't about practicality, it was about belonging to a culture. Even today, spotting one at a bike rally brings floods of nostalgia, a reminder of scraped knuckles, cheap petrol, and the thrill of being young and unstoppable. The Honda Super Cub, whether in its C50 or C70 form, was the quiet hero of Britain's roads in the 1980s. While superbikes and racers grabbed the headlines, the Super Cub simply got on with the job, delivering newspapers, commuting workers, and helping families who needed cheap and reliable transport. Its step-through design and near-indestructible little engine made it practical for anyone, from teenagers with L plates to pensioners nipping down to the shops. It wasn't glamorous, but it was beloved. Riders still recall how it sipped fuel like no other machine, always started on cold mornings, and could be fixed with the simplest tools. The Cub became a symbol of practicality and independence. It wasn't about going fast, it was about getting there every time. That soft, chugging engine note was the background music of Britain's back streets, and for many, it still represents a time when life was simpler, slower, and a lot more reliable. The Suzuki RG500 Gamma was as close as you could get to a full-blown racing bike on Britain's roads in the 1980s. Born from Suzuki's Grand Prix machines, it carried a square-4 two-stroke engine that produced blistering acceleration and an unforgettable high-pitched howl. To those lucky enough to ride one, it felt like stepping straight into the shoes of a GP racer, with performance that pushed the limits of what was possible on public tarmac. But the RG500 wasn't a bike for the faint-hearted. Its ferocious power band, twitchy handling, and lack of forgiveness meant it demanded respect and punished those who underestimated it. It wasn't about comfort or practicality, it was about raw speed, adrenaline, and the thrill of taming a beast. Riders who mastered it still speak of the RG500 as a machine like no other, a legend that defined the wilder, more dangerous side of 1980s motorcycling in Britain. Today, it remains a cult classic, treasured as the road-going racer that captured the reckless energy of its decade. The Kawasaki Z1000J was the very definition of brute force on two wheels in the early 80s. With its big, air-cooled inline-4 engine, it packed muscle and presence, delivering a deep, growling exhaust note that could be heard long before the bike appeared. It wasn't about refinement or clever electronics. This was raw power in a heavy, imposing frame that gave riders the feeling of sitting on pure steel and horsepower. On British streets, it became a cult machine, equally at home on dual carriageways, as it was in endurance racing and early superbike competitions. Many bikers saw the Z1000J as the graduation from learner machines to the real thing, a bike that demanded respect. Spotting its wide stance and square headlamp in the mirrors was enough to make car drivers move aside. Today, it's remembered as a classic symbol of 80s toughness. No frills, no nonsense, just a heavyweight legend built to dominate the road. By the 1980s, Triumph was struggling to keep pace with the flood of Japanese superbikes, yet the Bonneville T140 kept the spirit of British motorcycling alive. It wasn't the fastest or the most technically advanced machine, but it carried with it a heritage and soul that no amount of horsepower could replace. Its parallel twin engine produced that distinctive thump and exhaust note that riders instantly recognized, and its classic styling made it look every bit the British icon it was. For many bikers, owning a Bonneville in the 80s wasn't about outright speed. It was about belonging to a tradition, a legacy stretching back decades. At bike meets and in pub car parks, the T140 still drew nods of respect, even as slick Japanese machines screamed past. It stood for authenticity, character and pride in British engineering during a time of huge change. Today, it is remembered as one of the last true old-school triumphs, a machine that embodied resilience and nostalgia in equal measure. For young riders in 1980s Britain, the Honda MBX 125F was the closest you could get to a race bike while still on L plates. With its sleek fairings, sporty decals and lively two-stroke engine, it looked and felt far more exotic than most learner bikes of the time. It offered just enough power to feel exciting without crossing legal limits, making it the perfect stepping stone for teenagers dreaming of bigger machines. The MBX 125F quickly earned cult status, lining school car parks and chip shop forecourts across the country. Its buzzing exhaust, sharp styling and reputation for being both fun and reliable made it a prized possession. Owners polished them endlessly, added racing stickers, and treated them like superbikes in miniature. For many, it was their first taste of speed, independence, and motorcycle culture. Even now, spotting an MBX 125F at a classic bike meet sparks instant nostalgia for a generation that grew up believing they were GP racers every time they opened the throttle.